So last time I built agentic memory, but there's one problem with it. Now each memory is one unique entity. However, I want to make memories connected to each other and create relationships between them. So in this video, I'll be trying to create a knowledge graph that I can integrate into my memory project. If you think about memories, this is how I've imagined memories before also here, right? Whenever the memories are interconnected between each other, and this is actually how they work in our brain. We have these connections between brain cells called synapses. When we are learning new things, new synapses, so new connections are starting to create, also through to integrate a knowledge graph. But let me first really understand what a knowledge graph is. So I need to sort of deeply read it to understand it, because I don't want to say, hey, AI, build me a knowledge graph, because I don't know if that's useful. So I need to first, a sort of a problem with articles is that every time I read them, because I've used to work a lot with RAGs, but never with GraphRAG specifically. And so I'm reading this and I'm thinking, damn, I already know pretty much all of this. But what I'm missing is the graph part of the RAG. So I'm going to go to Gemini, which has a nice mode called guided learning, and so I can learn here what are GraphRAGs. So I'm going to do it like this. So if you don't know what GraphRAG is, I'll show you an image here. But besides that, creating text and data, we are also creating relationships between the data. So you can think about person Alice who works at company X, does project Y, uses this tool, etc. Practice I've been doing for the past few months, and it's been great. So before creating a big feature with AI, I always write the plan myself. Okay, so now as I have the memories, essentially what I want to create connections in between those memories. So I have the plan to develop the GraphRAG with Neo4j, which I think would be quite simple. Now, for an LLM, I want something that can run locally. So it should be extremely small, and I want to build like an MVP. So let's keep it simple for me to just test it. Yeah, let's keep the Neo4j browser. Start with including Neo4j. Okay, you know what? Let's actually use AI. I would prefer to have some type of a service, or you can add it also as things to do, service for just calling the AI, because essentially I will start with using Open Router, which we could start with that because I have an account there and we could use the model, because I think that a super small, like 3 billion parameter local model might actually be too small for this. And so let's use that, honestly. Yeah, right. This is cool. Okay, so he asked very good questions here. Essentially, what is a node, right? Because this is a problem that is very interesting. Yeah, is it like a single thing that we learn? Like, oh my God, this comes down to a question. Really, what is a node comes down to a question of what is a memory, right? Like, what's the single entity of memory? Because before we had memory as a sentence. Damn, this is difficult, right? To think through this. I would honestly take inspiration from the human brain. However, the article that I read, scientists have really no idea what a memory is specific. Let's think about it. What even is a memory? Because sometimes we have memories like episodic memory of what happened, but we also have procedural memories, which are how to do things. Skills are procedural memories. And we also have, inside our memory, we also have it. Memories usually have multiple dimensions. So there's like audio, you can think of video, and there's maybe even sound. Not sound, but like smell could also be here, right? We can remember roughly a smell depending on the situation. Like, for example, if you've been in let's say a fire or something like that, you might remember the smell. Yeah, so in a human, you can think about maybe taste if you ate something amazing, but it's never clear. It's just a rough estimation, right? Yeah, damn, how many questions does he have? But that's better than him just blindly creating something really stupid. I really want him to, yes, this is pretty self-explanatory. He kind of does a little too much with questions. This is the problem very often with running like AI systems. I'm literally just sitting here for like 15 minutes and just answering questions that he has. But I still think it's better than just him blindly creating anything. So in the meantime, let's actually review this code. Constantly have this, oh, this should be cleaner code or whatever, but this is an MVP. Like, this doesn't fucking matter here. This is actually fine. Not it's not obviously the most beautiful. Probably can be better, more readable, whatever, but remember, like, this is an MVP. Like, we have to remember that. And so we have to be okay with some level of like shittiness. So I think overall, the kind of best idea on how you want to learn a new technology is to create some very simple version of it as fast as possible and then see it live and then just go deeper on how it works. So that's why I wanted to create an MVP for the graph. I didn't, because initially I started with reading graphs, reading about GraphRAG, etc. But I decided, hey, it's not actually the best idea. I think the best idea is to create it as fast as possible and then just see it live, and see the memories on how they are created here. Let's see whether we got some new memories already. We got some new memories. Okay, look at this. This is how the memories are worked on the graph. Now, these are all the things that I did inside the code. And as you can see, the LLM has already sort of connected them to each other. So for example, like if you look at this, everything GraphRAG related is connected to each other. So Neo4j is connected here as well. But something like similarity scoring is not directly. This is connected to an MVP, which then, so as you can see, this sort of creates this graph around similar concepts. Now, this isn't perfect. And so as you can see, these are completely non-related to the GraphRAG, but all of these are related to MVPs. So for example, this was like around the CLI, and this one also was around CLI. And so LLM has connected them together, which is very nice. Now we are getting closer to this sort of idea that memories are this graphs or a web of connections between each other, which are called synapses, right? So here, there's a saying in the biology that neurons that fire together, that wire together, fire together. So essentially, memories close to each other will always be sort of queried alongside others that are similar. So yeah, this is pretty interesting.